student in Korea taking up media and communications. And of course, with media and communications, it's always present that current events will always be there, which is why my topic for today will be the public sentiment analysis that is around the tragedy that happened, I think, 2 years ago, which actually made it to the worldwide news. So just to bring you back to the situation, again, just a disclaimer, this is not to assign blame or do comments. It's literally just an analysis of the current situation. So with that, I would just like to bring you back first to 2022. And during that time, we were just experiencing the COVID from 2019 to 2022, and we were in a space where the world was caged and done. And when we entered 2022, and we were somewhat living again. And that's why excitement came. And so people in Korea, they've been trying to celebrate certain festivals, and the night that is meant for celebration turned into a tragedy. And in many parts of the world, well, Halloween is something that's really fun. In Korea, specifically in Seoul, Itaewon, which is a vibrant spot for foreigners, that night a lot of basically a lot of people passed away, which is in October 29, 2022, and over 150 people passed away, which is considered the nation's worst civilian disasters. And of course, comes with this would be the grieving online. And this is one of the things that I wanted to highlight because in the tragedy of this aftermath, there are a lot of news out there, a lot of situations where in media, even personal opinions are being posted online. But all of these are sometimes opinions, are just opinions, or some of these are somewhat interviews of just specific person. But the platform that they are using are not exactly where the Koreans are talking about, especially those who are the bereaved families of these people. And on top of that, why the study matters, because in the past studies, or at least the contents online, a lot of the discussions revolve around sentiment analysis in Google, which is not actually the platform that Koreans use. While Twitter and Facebook are also somewhat platforms that most people talk about this one, the actual families who are affected are not really posting their real sentiments online as opposed to those who are just commenting. So this study focuses on the emotional discourse that's happening in Naver, specifically the platform used in Korea. And I know that most of you, especially foreigners who arrived today, are not really familiar with Naver. And Naver is actually somehow like Google, but you also have cafes. You have cafes there. You post online. You post media. It's like a platform for Koreans where they talk about all of their sentiments, media outlets. It's like a one-stop shop platform for everyone. So of course, we're going back to the why it's important to analyze this social media happenings, because in past crowd disasters like Indonesia, Shanghai, those disasters that happened, one of the outlets where they studied the strategies is when they took out the sentiments of the people and how they're able to strategize on how to go about their their next step in terms of how to protect these people, what are their comments, what are their feeling, and how to basically spin their PR, media, and almost anything and everything about marketing and strategies. So going back, as I was talking about Naver before, so it's actually the most one of the most used platforms of Korea. And this, I mentioned that there's news, blogs, forums, public discussions here. And unlike Western platforms, most of the contents in Naver use long form content. That's why you really get the gist of what people are talking about, regardless if it's comment or media and stories. And in this platform, there can be echo chambers that form inside, which are not really studied because number one, everything is in Korean. That's why the study, we had to translate it from Korean to English. And number two, for us to really understand this platform, it somehow needs a deeper understanding of who is actually putting out those content. Is it an organization? Is it a person, etc. So this study if they feel the same sentiment, they form a certain group and somehow relate with each other, and this is when echo chambers happen. So in this study, we're basically understanding the behavior and sentiment and how we dig deeper, not just into the creative execution of how stories are told, but also the data behind it and really dig deep as to how and who are these people. So the research question basically talks about three things. The first one, we focus on how did echo chamber dynamics or neighbor influence the public sentiment. So we're going to focus on that. And then what are the key topics? What are the public concerns? And lastly, this sentiments, how did it shift over time? So in terms of methodology, um, we basically used web scraping through Python, and then getting these data, we did semantic network analysis and sentiment analysis. And in terms of how much data we had, initially we started with 24,000 data, but we had to clean it up, pre-process, and now we're down to 1,674, removing all those duplicates, those unnecessary keywords, etc. But this is bound by two keyword strategies, which is the Itaewon disaster and Itaewon crash asset, which was translated from a Korean word. So we extracted three time frames. The first one would be the immediate date after the situation. The second is at the first anniversary when people are also grieving a year after. Second is when the passage of the special law was given because a lot of netizens reacted in this situation. So in terms of methodology, I mentioned that we use Python, and what it showed us is that there are a lot of concerns in terms of words around safety, government, because I'll discuss more about that. But it revealed a lot of sub-narratives, not just top line topics, and we also reviewed the positive, neutral, and negative sentiments, which I'll go through later. So this is just like the process of how we did it: extraction, cleaning, initial analysis, and yeah. So basically, what we found out is that for the discussions, there are high frequency keywords wherein most media are the ones who are talking about it, and the low frequency words are mostly people who are sharing their sentiments about forgiveness, oppression, anguish, etc. So it's the difference of echo chambers is somehow discussed that way. And of course, how people are basically using these keywords to express their sentiments. So you'll notice as well that most of the sentiments are negative throughout time because a lot of them are grieving, but also as the government passes laws, as they take action, somehow these are turning into positive sentiments. And last but not the least, we also note that there is a significant importance in terms of the year and title length whenever these contents are posted. So just a discussion. So in echo chambers, basically all the high frequency keywords that are being used, these are mostly put out by the media and government in terms of long form content, and the low frequency words are more of the personal emotions of people using certain keywords. And mostly media echo chambers, grassroots echo chambers exist or coexist with one another. And so last but not the least, so all of these messaging is basically acknowledging that most people in this echo chamber are talking about their emotions, not just facts. And yeah, so basically limitations is that of course this is only neighbor, and there are other platforms that Koreans also use, can be Twitter as well. And of course there are still other ways for us to map influencers